There's a moment that arrives quietly, without announcement. You're sitting at the kitchen table, morning light spilling across the floor. Your hands, resting on the worn wood, carry a slight tremor now. And in that stillness, a realization washes over you like a tide you didn't see coming. You've been fighting for so long. Fighting to keep everyone safe, to make things turn out right, to prevent disaster, to control outcomes you were never meant to control. Decades of vigilance, decades of worry, decades of believing that if you just tried hard enough, planned carefully enough, anticipated every risk, you could somehow protect yourself and those you love from life's inevitable storms. But sitting there in that quiet kitchen, something shifts. The exhaustion becomes too heavy to carry anymore. And beneath that exhaustion, a question rises: what if I've been doing this all wrong? I made a choice at 60 that changed everything. Not to give up, not to stop caring, but to finally understand something the Buddha taught 2,500 years ago. Suffering comes not from life's changes, but from our desperate attempts to control them. This isn't philosophy. This isn't positive thinking. This is the difference between living with clenched fists or open hands. And what I discovered is that freedom doesn't come from gaining more control. It comes from releasing the illusion that we ever had it. If you've spent your life trying to manage everything around you, if you lie awake rehearsing worst-case scenarios, if you carry the weight of everyone's happiness on your shoulders, then stay with me. Because what I'm about to share isn't just a teaching, it's a doorway to a peace you may have forgotten was possible. The illusion we all believe. For most of my adult life, I believed a story. It went something like this: if I'm vigilant enough, careful enough, if I plan every detail and anticipate every problem, I can keep bad things from happening. I can protect my children from making terrible mistakes. I can prevent my marriage from falling apart. I can ensure my health doesn't fail. I can control outcomes. This belief felt not just reasonable but necessary. After all, isn't that what responsible adults do? We take charge. We manage. We prevent disasters through sheer force of will and foresight. The world rewards this kind of thinking. We call it being proactive, being prepared, being a good parent, a good spouse, a good employee. But here's what nobody tells you. This kind of thinking is exhausting. And more than that, it's based on an illusion. I once knew a woman named Margaret. She'd been the perfect mother, by anyone's standards. Organic food, excellent schools, supervised playdates, carefully vetted friends. She poured her entire life into raising her daughter with every advantage, every protection. And yet at 19, her daughter dropped out of college and disappeared into addiction. Margaret sat in my living room, tears streaming down her face, and whispered the words that haunt so many of us: where did I go wrong? I did everything right. That phrase, I did everything right, reveals the deep illusion. Margaret believed that if she controlled all the variables, she could control the outcome. She believed that good parenting equals guaranteed results, but life doesn't work that way. It never has. Or consider Thomas, who worked for the same company for 38 years, loyal, dedicated, never missed a day. He planned his retirement down to the month, calculated his pension, envisioned his golden years. Then at 62, without warning, the company downsized. His position was eliminated. No pension, just a severance check and a handshake. All those years of certainty, of believing his loyalty would be rewarded, dissolved in a single meeting. Or think of Ruth, who ate well, exercised daily, never smoked, rarely drank. She did everything the doctors recommended, and still, at 68, she was diagnosed with an aggressive cancer. Meanwhile, her neighbor George, who'd smoked for 50 years and lived on processed food, celebrated his 85th birthday without a single health concern. These stories aren't rare, they're the actual texture of human life. And yet we persist in believing that if we just control enough variables, we can ensure the outcomes we want. The Buddha understood this deeply. He saw that we suffer not because life is uncertain, but because we cling to the illusion of certainty. He called this anicca, impermanence. Everything changes, everything flows, nothing stays fixed. And when we try to freeze the river, when we try to make permanent what is inherently temporary, we create our own suffering. There's an old traditional story that speaks to this. A farmer's horse ran away one evening, and all the neighbors came by saying, "Such terrible luck, how will you plow your fields?" The farmer simply replied, "Good luck, bad luck, who knows?" The next day the horse returned, bringing with it 3 wild horses. The neighbors rushed over. "How wonderful, now you have 4 horses." Again the farmer said, "Good luck, bad luck, who knows?" The following day, the farmer's son tried to tame one of the wild horses and was thrown, breaking his leg. The neighbors returned with sympathy. "How awful, your son is injured during planting season." The farmer's response remained the same, "Good luck, bad luck, who knows?" A week later, soldiers came through the village conscripting young men for war. Because of his broken leg, the farmer's son was passed over. While other families wept as their sons were taken, the farmer's son remained home safely. This is not a story about luck. It's a story about the fundamental truth of impermanence and our inability to judge what is truly good or bad in the moment. What seems like disaster may carry seeds of grace. What feels like blessing may conceal coming difficulty. The farmer's wisdom wasn't in predicting the future, but in accepting that he couldn't. We spend so much energy trying to control outcomes that we blind ourselves to this truth. We exhaust ourselves fighting against the very nature of reality. And the terrible irony is this: the tighter we grip, the more we suffer. The more we try to manage and manipulate, the less we actually live. But here's the compassionate understanding the Buddha offered. It's not your fault you believed this. We've all been taught that control equals safety, that vigilance prevents tragedy, that worry is the same as care. We've internalized these messages so deeply that releasing them feels like giving up, like being irresponsible, like inviting disaster. So let me be clear, what I'm talking about isn't passivity. It's not resignation. It's not a spiritual bypass where we pretend everything is fine when it's not. What I'm talking about is something far more radical and far more freeing. It's the courage to see life as it actually is, not as we wish it to be. The cost of the illusion. Let me tell you about my friend Elizabeth. She was 72 when I met her at a meditation retreat. She'd been diagnosed with breast cancer 6 months earlier. The diagnosis was serious but treatable. The prognosis was cautiously optimistic. But Elizabeth wasn't at that retreat to talk about her cancer. She was there because she'd realized something that shook her awake. While sitting in the oncology waiting room one afternoon, she'd picked up a magazine and started reading about political turmoil in a country halfway around the world. Within minutes, she was in a spiral. What if war breaks out? What if the economy collapses? What if there's another pandemic? Her heart was racing, her palms sweating, her mind catastrophizing about events completely beyond her control or influence. And then, in a moment of strange clarity, she looked around the waiting room. Here she was, facing her own mortality, spending her precious energy worrying about hypothetical disasters she could do nothing about. She had cancer, real cancer, and she wasn't even thinking about that. She was consumed by worry about things that might never happen, to people she would never meet, in situations she could never influence. I realized she told our group, tears in her eyes, that I've spent my whole life doing this, always somewhere else, always worried about the next catastrophe, always trying to prevent things I have no power over. And in the meantime, my actual life, the one I'm living right now, just kept passing me by. The Buddha taught something profound about this. He described what's called the second arrow. The first arrow, he said, is the actual pain of life. Someone you love gets sick, you lose your job, your body ages and becomes frail. These are the first arrows, and they hurt. That pain is real and inevitable. We cannot dodge the first arrow, but then we shoot ourselves with a second arrow. We add layer upon layer of suffering through our resistance, our denial, our desperate attempts to make reality different than it is. We replay events in our minds, wondering what we could have done differently. We spiral into catastrophic futures that haven't happened. We ruminate on all the ways we failed to prevent what was, ultimately, beyond our control. The Buddha said, when you're hit by the first arrow, and you feel that pain, you don't need to shoot yourself with a second. The first arrow is life. The second arrow is our refusal to accept life as it is. Think about how this plays out in everyday moments. You're stuck in traffic, already running late. The first arrow is the traffic, the being late. You can't control it. But then you shoot yourself with the second arrow. You berate yourself for not leaving earlier, even though you left when you always leave. You imagine your boss's disappointment, rehearse your apologies, catastrophize about being fired. Your jaw clenches, your shoulders tighten, your mind spins in circles. None of this changes the traffic. None of it makes you arrive earlier. It only multiplies your suffering, or your adult child makes a choice you disagree with, moves across the country, quits a stable job, marries someone you don't trust. The first arrow is the disappointment, the concern for their well-being, natural feelings. But then the second arrow, you replay every conversation, wondering where you went wrong in raising them. You imagine worst-case scenarios. You try to strategize ways to change their mind, to control their choices from a distance. You lie awake at night, your mind a tangle of worry and regret. The exhaustion of living this way is real. After 60, many of us carry decades of accumulated second arrows. We've spent so much energy trying to control what was never controllable that we've forgotten what it feels like to simply be present with what is. And here's the deepest tragedy. When we're consumed with trying to control outcomes, we're not actually present for the life we have. We miss the morning light on the kitchen table. We miss the grandson's laugh because we're worried about his school performance. We miss the taste of tea because we're rehearsing an argument from yesterday or anticipating one tomorrow. The Buddha understood this with great compassion. He knew that our attempts to control come from love, from fear, from the very human desire to keep ourselves and those we love safe from pain. He wasn't dismissive of this. He was deeply tender toward our struggle, but he also saw clearly that this path leads only to more suffering, not less. When we try to control life, we're essentially arguing with reality, and arguing with reality, as someone once said, is like teaching a cat to bark. Not only will you fail, but you'll exhaust yourself in the attempt. But here's the beautiful, liberating truth that the Buddha offered. You don't have to keep doing this. You can put down the burden of trying to control everything, not because you're giving up or becoming careless, but because you're finally understanding what's yours to influence and what isn't. What control really means in Buddhist teaching. There's a dangerous misunderstanding that happens when people first hear about letting go of control. They think it means becoming passive, giving up, letting life happen to you without response or responsibility. Stop trying, stop caring, just accept everything and do nothing. But that's not what the Buddha taught at all. The Buddha spoke of something called right effort. It's part of what's known as the Eightfold Path, the roadmap for living with wisdom and freedom. And right effort doesn't mean no effort. It means wise effort, directed effort, appropriate effort. It means understanding the profound difference between what you can influence and what you cannot, and then putting your energy where it actually makes a difference. Think of it this way: you cannot control whether it rains tomorrow, but you can choose to bring an umbrella. You cannot control whether your child makes mistakes, but you can choose how you respond when they do. You cannot control whether you get sick, but you can choose how you care for your body and how you meet illness if it comes. This is the teaching of the middle way, another core Buddhist principle: not too tight, not too loose, not grasping frantically for control, but also not collapsing into helplessness. Finding that place of wise engagement where you do what you can do, release what you cannot, and develop the discernment to know the difference. There's something many people know as the serenity prayer, though its wisdom echoes the Buddha's teaching. Grant me the serenity to accept what I cannot change, the courage to change what I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That last part, the wisdom to know the difference, is everything. So let's be specific about what this looks like in the landscape of your life after 60. You cannot control whether your adult children visit you regularly, but you can choose to create a warm, welcoming presence so that when they do visit, they want to return. You cannot force their affection, but you can offer yours freely, without conditions or scorekeeping. You cannot control whether you develop dementia or arthritis or heart disease, but you can choose to move your body gently each day, to nourish it with care, to rest when it needs rest. You cannot guarantee health, but you can tend to the body you have with kindness rather than resentment. You cannot control what your neighbors think of you, what your siblings remember about the past, or what your former colleagues say about you now that you're retired. But you can choose to live with integrity, to speak truthfully, to act with kindness. You cannot control your reputation, but you can control your character. You cannot control the political landscape, the state of the world, whether wars break out or peace holds. But you can choose where you place your attention, how you spend your energy, whether you contribute to understanding or add to division in your own small sphere of influence. Do you see the difference? Right effort is not about controlling outcomes. It's about choosing your response. It's about showing up fully for what's actually in front of you, rather than exhausting yourself trying to manipulate what lies beyond your reach. The Buddha also taught that clinging is the root of suffering, and clinging to outcomes, attachment to how things should be, is one of the most painful forms of clinging. When we need life to unfold in a specific way, when we demand that our efforts produce particular results, we set ourselves up for constant disappointment. But when we learn to do our best, and then release our grip on outcomes, something miraculous happens. We find a kind of peace that doesn't depend on everything going our way. We discover a resilience that weathers storms. We touch a freedom that's been available all along, hidden beneath our desperate efforts to control. Let me be clear about something important. This doesn't mean you stop caring. If anything, you care more deeply. Because when you're not exhausted from trying to control everything, You actually have energy to show up for what matters. You can love without suffocating. You can help without rescuing. You can contribute without needing to fix everything. An old Zen teacher once described it this way: tend your garden, but don't demand that roses bloom in winter. Do your part, water the seeds, pull the weeds, offer your care. But understand that you are not in charge of the seasons. You are not in control of when flowers choose to open, or how long they stay in bloom. This is the practice of right effort. Showing up, doing your part, giving your best, and then opening your hands to release your grip on how it all turns out. It's not passivity, it's the deepest form of engagement, because it's aligned with reality rather than fighting against it. The peace that comes from acceptance at 60, I made a deliberate choice. I decided I would stop fighting with life and start learning from it. Not because I suddenly became enlightened, but because I was simply too tired to keep battling reality. It started small. I began noticing the texture of worry in my body, the way my shoulders would tense when reading news I couldn't change, the clench in my jaw when my daughter didn't return my call immediately, the spiral of my thoughts when imagining future catastrophes. I just started noticing, without judgment, without trying to fix anything, just seeing clearly what was happening, and something unexpected occurred. When I stopped resisting these feelings, when I simply acknowledged them without adding layers of shame or self-criticism, they began to shift, not disappear but shift, like clouds moving across the sky. The Buddha taught something about this. He said that everything that arises will also pass. Anicca again, impermanence. This isn't just about big life events. It's true moment to moment. Feelings arise, they peak, they fade. Thoughts appear, they cycle through, they dissolve. The more we fight them or cling to them, the more they persist. But when we simply let them be, when we give them space to move through us, they follow their natural course. I remember the first morning I truly experienced this. I was sitting with my tea, watching the steam rise and dissipate. My mind started its familiar worry about my son, who was going through a difficult time. But instead of diving into the worry, planning my interventions, rehearsing conversations, I just sat with it. I felt the tightness in my chest. I noticed the thoughts. He's struggling. I should do something. What if he doesn't recover from this? And then I whispered to myself what the Buddha might have said. This is worry. It is arising now. I cannot control his path. I can offer love. I cannot force outcomes. The worry didn't vanish, but something in me softened. I felt myself exhale a breath I didn't know I'd been holding, and in that moment, I could actually taste my tea. I could see the morning light. I could be present for the life I was actually living, rather than the one I was trying to orchestrate in my mind. This is what acceptance looks like in Buddhist practice. It's not resignation. It's not saying everything is fine when it's not. It's seeing clearly what is, without the added layer of demanding that it be different. It's making space for reality, exactly as it presents itself. When you stop fighting with what is, a tremendous amount of energy becomes available. Energy you've been spending on resistance, on denial, on trying to rearrange reality to match your preferences. Suddenly that energy is freed up, and you can use it for what actually matters: being present, being kind, being awake to this moment. I started taking morning walks, not for exercise though my body enjoyed it, but because I needed to practice being present with what is. I would notice the birds, not for any spiritual reason, but simply because they were there, living their bird lives, unconcerned with my worries. I would feel the air on my skin, cool or warm, and just let that be enough. On these walks, I began to understand something the Buddha taught about the nature of peace. Peace doesn't come from having everything under control. It comes from releasing the need for control. It's not out there, contingent on circumstances aligning perfectly. It's here, available in any moment, when we stop arguing with reality. You can love your grandchildren without trying to manage their parents' choices. You can care about your health without catastrophizing every ache. You can hold opinions about the world without carrying the weight of fixing everything wrong with it. You can grieve losses without demanding that life should have been different. There's a practice in Buddhism called metta, loving kindness. It begins with offering kindness to yourself. May I be peaceful, may I be safe, may I accept life as it unfolds. This isn't selfish, it's foundational, because you cannot offer genuine peace to others when you're at war with yourself, when you're exhausted from trying to control everything. When I began this practice, extending kindness toward my own struggle, something softened in how I related to everything else. I could let my husband have his opinions without needing to change them. I could witness my children's choices without taking responsibility for outcomes that were never mine to control. I could feel concern without drowning in it. The paradox is this: when you stop trying to control, you discover a different kind of power, not the power to force outcomes, but the power to choose your response, not the power to prevent pain, but the power to meet it with grace, not the power to fix everything, but the power to be present for what is. This is the gift the Buddha offered, not a technique for getting what you want, but a path to freedom regardless of what you get. And that freedom, that peace, is available right now, in this breath, in this moment, in the simple act of releasing your grip on how you think life should be, and opening yourself to how it actually is. Living with open hands. There's an image that stayed with me from my years of Buddhist practice. A teacher once showed us how to hold water. When you clench your fist around it, trying to keep it from spilling, it squeezes through your fingers and is lost. But when you cup your hand gently, palm open, the water rests there. You can hold it as long as it chooses to stay. And when it flows away, your hand remains open for whatever comes next. This is the practice of living with open hands. Not grasping, not forcing, but holding life gently, allowing it to be what it is. After 60, something in me understood this teaching in a way I couldn't when I was younger. Perhaps it's because I've already lost so much. People I loved have died. Opportunities have passed. The body I once had is gone. My children are grown and living their own lives. The career I built has ended. So much has already slipped through my fingers, no matter how tightly I tried to hold on. And in facing these losses, I've learned something essential. I survived. I'm still here. Still breathing, still capable of joy, of love, of wonder. The losses didn't destroy me, even though I once feared they would. What nearly destroyed me was the resistance, the fighting, the refusal to accept that loss is woven into the very fabric of being alive. The Buddha saw this clearly. He taught that attachment to impermanent things is the source of suffering, but he wasn't telling us not to love, not to care, not to value anything. He was pointing to something subtler, the difference between loving and clinging, between caring and controlling. You can love your spouse without clinging to them never changing. You can treasure your health without demanding it last forever. You can value your home without being shattered. If circumstances force you to leave it, the love remains, the care remains, but the desperate grip loosens. These later years are perfect for this practice. We've lived long enough to see that nothing stays. We've accumulated enough experience to know that change is not the exception but the rule. Every season we've lived through proved the Buddha's teaching about impermanence. We don't need to believe it philosophically. We've witnessed it directly, and this lived wisdom becomes the foundation for a different way of being. Instead of spending our remaining energy trying to freeze the river, we can learn to move with it. Instead of exhausting ourselves fighting against the current, we can discover how to float. I've developed a simple practice that helps me return to open hands. Each morning, when I wake, before the day pulls me into its demands, I take a moment, I place my hand over my heart, and ask, what can I influence today? And then I ask, what must I release? The answers vary. Some days I can influence how I respond to a difficult conversation. I can choose patience over reactivity. I can offer kindness where judgment might be easier. Some days I can influence how I care for my aging body, moving it gently, feeding it well, resting when rest is needed. And then I practice releasing. I release my adult daughter's choices. They are hers to make, not mine to control. I release the political landscape I cannot personally change. I release yesterday's regrets. I release tomorrow's anxieties. I release the fantasy that if I just worry hard enough, I can prevent bad things from happening. This doesn't mean I stop caring about my daughter. It means I offer my love and support without the added burden of trying to control her path. This doesn't mean I become indifferent to the world's suffering. It means I contribute where I can and release the impossible burden of fixing everything. Each evening, I return to the practice. What did I try to control today that wasn't mine to control? Where did I clench my fist around water? And with gentle honesty, I acknowledge these moments, not with shame but with the compassionate understanding that this is hard. Letting go is hard. Opening your hands when you're frightened is an act of courage. The Buddha once said, in the end, only three things matter: how much you loved, how gently you lived, and how gracefully you let go of things not meant for you. This teaching has become my North Star. Not how much I achieved, not how well I controlled outcomes, but how fully I loved, how gently I moved through the world, and how willing I was to release my grip on what was never mine to hold. There's a freedom in this that's difficult to describe to someone who hasn't tasted it. When you're no longer exhausted from trying to manage everyone and everything, when you're not carrying the weight of outcomes you cannot control, when you've released the burden of needing life to match your expectations, something opens up. You can sit with your grandchild and be fully present, not planning their future in your mind. You can have a conversation and actually listen, not rehearsing your response. You can enjoy a meal without your mind being somewhere else. You can rest without guilt. You can feel sadness without adding stories about what it means. You can witness your own aging without constant resistance. This is what the Buddha called liberation. Not escape from life, but freedom within it. Not the absence of pain, but the end of unnecessary suffering. Not controlling everything, but being at peace with whatever comes. And the beautiful paradox is this: when you stop trying to control, people often respond more warmly. When you release your death grip on outcomes, better possibilities emerge. When you make peace with uncertainty, you discover a resilience you didn't know you had. Not because you've gained some power over life, but because you've stopped exhausting yourself fighting against it. Returning to the morning tea. So I returned to where this began. That quiet morning, hands trembling slightly, light spilling across the kitchen table. That moment of realization that changed everything. The trembling hasn't stopped. The body continues to age. The world remains uncertain. People I love still make choices I wouldn't choose for them. Bad things still happen. I cannot prevent loss. I cannot guarantee outcomes. I cannot control the river. But something fundamental has shifted. The exhaustion has lifted. Not because life became easier, but because I stopped making it harder. I stopped shooting myself with that second arrow. I stopped arguing with reality. I stopped trying to be in charge of things that were never mine to manage. The Buddha's promise was true. Suffering comes from clinging. Freedom comes from letting go. And this freedom, this peace, was never out there somewhere, contingent on circumstances aligning perfectly. It was always here, available in any moment I was willing to open my hands and stop grasping. At 60, I finally understood what I'd been seeking all along. Not more control, but less suffering. Not power over outcomes, but peace within uncertainty. Not the ability to prevent pain, but the grace to meet it without adding resistance. This doesn't mean I've perfected this practice. There are still days when my hands clench, when worry spirals, when I catch myself trying to manage what isn't mine to manage. But now I notice more quickly. I return more gently to open hands. I remember more readily that the Buddha's teaching isn't about being perfect. It's about being awake. And waking up, even at 60, even at 70, even at 80, is always possible. Each breath is a new beginning. Each moment offers another chance to release your grip and discover the freedom that's been waiting beneath your clenched fists all along. So if you're reading this and you recognize yourself in these words, if you're exhausted from trying to control everything, if you're ready to put down this impossible burden, know this: you're not alone. The Buddha walked this path 2,500 years ago. Millions have walked it since. I'm walking it now, and it's never too late to begin. Start simply. Notice when your shoulders tense with worry about things you cannot change. Feel the clench in your jaw when reality doesn't match your expectations. Observe the spiral of your thoughts trying to control outcomes that haven't happened yet. Just notice, without judgment. And then gently as you would speak to a frightened child, whisper to yourself, what can I influence in this moment? What must I release? Let yourself answer honestly, and then practice, just for this moment, opening your hands, releasing your grip, trusting that you'll be okay, even if you're not in control. The peace you seek isn't waiting until you've mastered this practice. It's available right now, in the simple act of letting go. The freedom the Buddha promised isn't reserved for monastics or spiritual masters. It's here for you, in your kitchen, with your trembling hands and your worried heart and your deep longing for rest. Open your hands. The water you've been trying so desperately to hold is already flowing through your fingers. But look, your hands are still here, still capable, still open to receive whatever comes next. That's not powerlessness, that's freedom. That's the Buddhist truth that set me free after 60. And it's waiting for you too, in this very moment, as close as your next breath, as available as your willingness to finally let go. This isn't about being perfect, it's about being present, not about controlling life, but about meeting it with open hands and an open heart. And every time you remember, every time you release your grip, every time you choose acceptance over resistance, you touch something the Buddha called peace. And peace, dear friend, is what we've been seeking all along. Not perfect circumstances, just peace, right here, right now, even with trembling hands, especially with trembling hands. Because in the end, the greatest act of courage at any age is learning to hold life gently, to love deeply, without grasping, and to walk forward into uncertainty with open hands, trusting that whatever comes you have what you need to meet it. That's the truth. That's the freedom, that's the peace. May you find it in your own kitchen, in your own quiet morning, in your own trembling hands finally learning to open.